Good day. Thank you for joining us in this continuing transformative conversation. I'm with my good friend and coach, Janet Lim from Singapore. Wow, Janet, this is what a tough time for a lot of us because we're back to sort of like where we were in April, and it seems to be endless. We're back in what is called modified enhanced community quarantine. And therefore, a lot of businesses are coming back to a screeching halt once again. People's plans have been, again disrupted. And it's a perfect time to talk to somebody like you to give us some sort of insight and guidance on how to become, more resilient in this whole process. What's emerging for you in all of this, Janet? What's going on through your mind as these things are continuously happening?
Great day to you as well, Paul, and all my friends that's in front of the screen. I think this is a very trying moment, frustrating for most of us. I am glad I'm not experiencing this immediate heat of restarting, but I am experiencing that in my own world in terms of trying, things not working, taking 3 steps forward and then 2 steps back. So I am empathizing from that perspective. I'm not sure whether I have the answer because just like everybody out here, I am on a journey. I am exploring. I am, like you said, feeling what's emerging. So I guess I can share from that perspective. First of all, I feel that the Groundhog Day of reverting back to the down, the hit, the feeling of down, has created almost like a momentum. For example, for me. Bear in mind, this is not a great experience, but it is an impactful experience. So the pain is actually very real and very strong. And my body, not only my emotions, my body, my brain, my everything remembers it. And it's strangely comforting. Because I'm so familiar with it. I indulge in the complaining of it. I weep in it. And suddenly I'm brought back again to that moment that is so, in a way, the low of it is equally impactful as the high of feeling it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes me think, actually. Makes me think about my own reaction to what's going on. And because we're here, we're both here to help and support others who are going through the same similar thing. And what you're saying really hits home, Janet. How does one deal with the grief of losing what's normal? What's your take on that?
I think the word grief is very on point. It is grieving. And if you recall in the past how we grieve over situations, it can be quite indulging. And a lot of times when we are not careful, if we are not careful, we might just stay there. Human is a creature of habit. And we love to deal with whatever that is familiar. And it is our mechanism to handle things in this way. So being trapped in the grief, going through the cycle, actually grief has a cycle, as the researchers would have told us. We choose to, get into a denial of it. We get into the anger, right? And if we indulge too much in it, it is very difficult to crawl out. Very, very difficult. Right? So just this morning, I'm reminded of some words from the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Right? So it's not a new book. Eckhart Tolle published it in 1998. And I haven't touched that book for the longest time ever. But I was reminded of his quote, and he says, I paraphrase, that is about loving our attachment to this unhappiness that makes us happy. Right? So we human beings tend to love to live in this pain body. Because if we ditch that pain body, we actually leap into the unknown again. But staying in the pain is so familiar. And we rather have the familiarity than to pay the price of liberation.
Wow.
I'm not saying this is easy to swallow, Paul, because I feel it as I read, it hurts me. Right? I don't know about you, but when I read that, it hurts me.
It's like you talking to me. But it's true.
Yeah, and because there is a rejection of the liberation, there is no way we can really start taking the next step. I'm going to associate this scenario with something more lighthearted. Sure. I don't know about you, but I can still remember all my failed relationships, like my past relationships, right? But you know, the funny thing is, whenever we parted from our ex-lover, right, and we suddenly we begin to remember how good it used to be, how nice this person used to be, how lovey-dovey, how pleasant, how beautiful, and I don't know why we suddenly forgot that something wasn't going on right as well during that relationship, and that exact thing, whatever it is, led to the demise of that beautiful, pinkish, bubbly relationship that we thought is so perfect now for some strange reason.
This is the one that makes reset so difficult for a lot of us. And I think looking at it from the concept of a reset is a very challenging thing for a lot of people. They want to continue. It's very comfortable to continue despite its pain. What are your tips for our listeners out there, Janet, who are, in the stage we're in? They took some risks, because our topic is risk. They took some risks over the last 3-4 months and it failed. It's failing. And now they have to do that painful reset once again. What are your thoughts and tips for us so that, to help us get back?
You reminded me of Cantor's law or Cantor's principle, right? Anything that's in the middle, everything in the middle looks like a failure, right? So I'm going to use the exact example of COVID-19. So when Singapore, first get into the COVID-19 situation, it was the poster boy. Right? Everyone was saying, "Oh, Singapore done so well, blah 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 blah, amazing job." And then suddenly Singapore fell. We had so many, infected cases, and then people start to see, what can we learn from Singapore? What can we learn from Singapore's case? Bear in mind, this is really not the end. And then if we still remember, people were suddenly talking about, after Singapore fell, people suddenly talk about Taiwan. Oh, amazing Taiwan, amazing Vietnam, amazing Hong Kong, Korea, Japan. And then recently, suddenly, there is second or third wave that hits these cities and countries. So everything looks like a failure in the middle, really.
This is very powerful.
Seriously, and Cantor's law, you can Google that. Cantor's a professor from Harvard. And I love this quotation from her. So, our attachment number 2 is our attachment to our sense of time. The truth is we are dealing with a journey. Our life doesn't end. Hopefully not. Our life doesn't end now. We are walking it. So let us ask, what did we learn from this scenario to plow back to the next episode? Maybe that could be more constructive, more helpful.